Good morning, everyone. It's Saturday, bright and early, probably about 8:45, 9 o'clock. We have the truck jacked up right now, getting ready to take the tires off of it, and I wanted to show you something of why we're doing this lift kit. We talked in a couple of videos earlier in the update video was CV angles, where the shaft that comes out from the center pumpkin should be pretty much level, but when you put these keys, torsion bar lifts, where it turns the keys, it makes the CV axles really droop low. Well, I took some pictures of it, and we're going to do a before and after when we put the lift on here and show you why you need to do a real lift versus a torsion lift to save your front end. So I'm going to show you what it looks like underneath this truck. Alright, you see how the CV boot is kind of pinched at the bottom, and it goes down to the receiver right here. This is not jacked up, this is not at full droop. This is what my truck runs at all the time. And that causes, the geometry is so wrong in this particular setup, it causes major bump steer. You just can't align it right. It makes it feel really awful going down the road. So that is what we're trying to fix, and we'll show you an after shot after we get this all done. But right now we're going to get the tires off and get this thing up in the air, which is a real pain in itself. You notice we have just the nose stuck in the garage here, because if we come any further and we jack it up, it's going to hit my garage door. So we're going to turn the fans back on, and we're probably going to leave them on. You're going to have to just deal with the noise. It's going to be about 105 today. Alright, so this is what you call a torsion bar unloading tool. It looks like a C-clamp, but it is not. Do not try to use a C-clamp for what we're about to do. I did it once and about killed myself. This is a purpose-built tool, and I bought this one. I ordered it from O'Reilly. Nobody rents it. You can't find anybody who rents the thing in tool owner program. So what I did is I bought this. It was 132 bucks. I realized you can get these online for about 55 or 60 bucks, but I needed one like in 2 days, so I paid the difference. So I'm going to crawl underneath the car, and I'm going to show you how to do this, because the first step is to unload the torsion bars. All right, so here is what we have so far. This is how this clamp goes on. There's actually a recess in the top of this cross member where this blue clamp goes around. And then you tighten this up, and it actually goes right against a little bitty detent, little small spot up inside here. So if you can see, it's right in here. This is where this goes up into. And then you're going to take your air ratchet or your air gun, and what it's going to do is it's going to release this up in there so you can get this little piece out, which this little piece is what adjusts the key. Now I put in green keys in here, which gives it a little more lift, and we're going to be changing back to stock ones, and it tells us in the instructions to measure how many threads are sticking out. I can't do that on here, so we're going to have to kind of just, we're going to have to wing it when we put it back on and just kind of figure out our stock height. So I'm going to find the right size. Whoa, that's big. That would be the one. Make sure it's on forward so it tightens. What that does is it loosens up this little retainer area here so you can get this out. And you just take the bolt out, and literally it's, because there's no tension on it, you can almost get it out with your fingers. I'm going to go ahead and use this just for time's sake. Just help me get a little better grip on it. My old fingers don't work like they used to. Well, I'm glad I did that by air right, so that thing's long. So anyway, you just take this little piece out, put this back in. We'll set it aside. You put it on reverse. Put your others back on here. That's how you unload a torsion bar. So now this side is really difficult because it has the exhaust in the way, so you just got to push that up. So that's all there is to it. Now this is loose, and in a couple more steps we're going to bang out the torsion bar. But I'm going to do this other side. We'll be back in a minute. All right, so now we've got to drive the torsion bars out. The way that that is done is you take a punch or something like that, you put it on the end of the torsion bar, and you got to be careful because your key is going to drop out when you do this. You start tapping. There it is. So what we're doing is we're driving this torsion bar forward so we can get this cross member out. That's interesting. It's almost be on a cushion. I never knew that. Interesting. But anyway, so we've got those forward now. I'm going to show you how the difference between, you see it has green on the bottom? These are a specific type of keys that give you a little more lift, and I'll show you how it works in a second, and why you really shouldn't do this, and this was a big mistake on my part. Alright, so if you line up the holes on each one of the keys, here's my stock key, here's my green key. If you line them up, you see how they're nice and you can see all the way through them, but you see the difference here. So with the same adjustment on the number of threads sticking out on the adjustment bolt, gives you more lift with the green keys. So this is not the way to do it. I mean, you can, but you're going to end up with a bad ride. So that is why we're not using green keys anymore. Okay. What we're doing now is taking off the cross member bolts for where the torsion bars were. This is real tough to get. Got it. Keep going. That's good. That's good. All right. So now this whole cross member should drop out. Put the camera down here. Okay. Got it. Ratchet's a little bit too long. I gotta pull my screw out too. Okay, mine's out. All right. Out. Okay. I'm gonna try to go. Can you go up?
Yes, I can. You ready?
Yeah. Okay, now slide backwards. All right. All right, so this is the drop bracket. We're just going to leave this here, and I'm going to put the screws back in just so I know. Well, you know what? They go through right here. And just leave them for right now, because this ends up getting dropped down to compensate for the torsion bar differences. So what I'm doing now is I'm taking off the sway bar end links. All right. There we go. This thing has a little nut on the top of it that you had to grab hold of. Yep. And it's got this weird octagon shape to it, so I just put my adjustable wrench up there. All right. It says to discard this, because the kit comes with brand new stuff, but we are saving everything just in case something goes horribly wrong. All right, so what we're doing now is we're taking off the tie rod ends, and this is a kind of a crucial area. You can use a pickle fork to do this, or we could do it the way that I was taught, is by using a big hammer. And let me show you what I'm looking at here. You see how you got this little boot? This is full of grease, that you grease from this little Zerk fitting on the bottom. If you use a pickle fork, which goes in like this, you can damage that boot. So the way that I've been taught is you just take a hammer, and this may be too small, but I needed a new one, so I bought it. If not, we'll get our big sledgehammer out. You just go just like that. And what I did is I loosened the nut first and left it on there, so if there's any tension, it won't pop off and hit anything. But it looks like we're good to go here. Yep. Sometimes you got to kind of push in a little bit and push it down. Alright, you see we got them separated apart now. Had to get Dad to help me. We need a third hand. I had to actually pull the suspension up because there's no torsion bar tension anymore. You can flex this with your hands and then pull this out separate. And I always put these nuts back on here because I don't ever want to lose anything. And I think we maybe end up buying some more ball joints for this because these look a little bit wore out. This truck's only got 43,000 miles on it, but I can see what the extreme angles have done to this tie rod end. So, all right, what I'm doing right now is I'm taking off the ABS sensor line, which there are several plastic things up on here on the A-arm. You just release those with a flathead screwdriver, and now it's loose. So this should be hanging free. Not only just do an inspection or everything, this is your anti-lock braking system, which means it senses when the tire locks up if you slam on the brakes. So apparently they're relocating these, and plus we got to take this whole spindle off. So, all right, next. Went ahead a couple of steps, and they were two minor steps, but I'm going to explain them to you. First one, we had to remove the brake line from the A-arm, which is just two 10mm bolts and the steering knuckle. And then I removed the caliper and caliper bracket. That was a feat in itself. The 21 or 22mm bolts, which are right there that hold it in, are in with this space-age Loctite. You need a big breaker bar and a lot of patience to get those out. I think it took us 20 minutes for both sides to get them off. And it's pretty simple. You just unscrew them, the caliper flies off, and then you use a coat hanger, which is what I used on both sides to support the caliper, because you do not want to stretch your brake lines at all. So we've got this done. We're going to take a little bit of a water break, and I think the next thing we do is we break some of these ball joints loose and get ready to drop this pumpkin. All we did was pull the rotor off here, and there was two little retainer clips that did that. And you take a flathead screwdriver and go around this little dust cover here to where it pops off. And there is a 36mm bolt or nut behind this that you have to get off. And yeah, you need a gigantic one here. And just so that's that on there. And then you take, I've got my extension ready to go. There is 6 CV or axle nuts way off in here that you have to get off, and I've got a little spot. You can't see. How's that? Alrighty. There's one. And I'm just going to rotate this thing around so I can get to every one of them. So far we've been working on this about 2 hours. I did have to make a run to AutoZone for that big axle nut. I wasn't paying attention. I didn't have one. I thought I did, but I didn't. Alright, so that's loose. Yeah, it is loose. I'm going to go over on the other side and do that one, and I think we're going to drop this ball joint. Alright, so now we need to release the ball joint from up here so we can get the axle out. And up here there is an 18mm bolt that what you do, you just loosen this down to the end. Right about there. I'm gonna go get my hammer. You just turn this to the side. You're gonna want to hit right about there. See how it popped loose? You're good to go. And you take your ratchet, finish unscrewing it.
Yeah.
So we got the nut off finally. It took 8 hands to do it. Once you get the nut off, you just raise the upper control arm like that. And then you're gonna reach in here, rub over the axle. It comes out just like that. So we're gonna set that aside. And now we need to get the shocks off. Up on top here, and it is on these Bilsteins, a 17 millimeter, and you have to hold on to the stem of the shock, otherwise it will spin on you. Alright, shock is out. We're going to go, next thing you do is you get the lower ball joint off. Alright, so now we got the right size. And you just put it back on a little bit. We're going to take and we're going to hit this knuckle right here. And of course, this is not cooperating. There we go. I don't know how you guys up in the north do this with all the rust. There we go. Got the joint off, shock off, and we can now move on to the next step. I'm going to take a water break for a few minutes. It's hot out here.